Hello and welcome back. Today I am going to service this Seiko Lord Marvel from 1965. You might have seen my previous video of finding this watch in the junk lot from Japan, and I've kind of taken a liking to it. I think it's a nice sized watch, and I think that dial might be quite nice underneath that scratched crystal. The case back is on there real good, so I've glued a nut onto there, and it's my specially finished nut. So we're going to unscrew that. We're going to pop that in the little vise here and see if that will come off hard way or the easier way. That came off quite easy. You'd be surprised how nicely that is. I just love this method because I've yet to scratch a case back doing it. It's not impossible, it can happen, but compared to having tools that can snip, I've even used a very fancy Bargeon, huge expensive tool, and the tip broke off and fell and scratched the case back quite badly. So I really like this glue on the nut onto the case back and then dissolving that in acetone. So this, take a moment to appreciate this movement has probably not seen daylight in, I don't know, 30, 40 years. There we go. Lovely, look at that. That's actually really nice, and kind of makes me think of a Grand Seiko movement, to be honest. It's not a Grand Seiko, but a Lord Marvel. But it has the same style. Got that little tadpole regulator there, and we have cap jewels, all the screw heads in perfect condition. The movement generally is in perfect condition, so that's promising. Let's get it out of the case and have a look at the dial. I'm very excited about this. This does not have a screw, but a little lever you push down like so, and then you can take the crown out. Around. Ta-da! You know what? Not too bad. Not too bad. We have a bit of a scratch going over here, so that's a shame. That's obviously probably the hour hand has been pressed in and been a bit low and come around here, but the rest of the dial, not too bad. Not perfect by a long shot. We got a little bit of rubbing or moisture damage going around the edge here, but it was a part of a lot, and it's not a perfect watch, but I still think this one is worth giving a service just because the movement's so beautiful, and it's got a pretty cool chunky case, and will be a nice little beater for someone, I think. So I'm going to take this watch apart in fast film just to save a little bit of time, and we'll put it back together in real time. you win some, you lose some, and at this point I think we're a little bit 50-50. I had a go at polishing out the scratches down here, and as you might notice, the scratches have almost gone. And I started with a bigger wheel, which was stupid. I didn't have the idea of using small wheels until later, and I was trying to go there, and of course it came a little bit over here, and unfortunately it was enough to polish away the surface of the 1, 2, 3, 4 second mark and a little bit of the notification of the dial, which of course is quite depressing, and I'm very upset with myself. So if you feel free to rub it in the comments, please do. But I am also very happy that we got rid of this big eyesore of a scratch that was going along down here. For me, that was because the rest of the dial is pretty, and then you have a huge scratch like that would kind of ruin it. I can live with a little bit of the fading of the print down there. The rest of the dial is very presentable, and I think this scratch that was down here now is almost, you can almost not see it. You really have to look in the light to find it. Of course, as we polish, the surface finish of the varnish is a tiny bit different. It's actually a bit more shiny than the rest. But compared to having that big scratch, I think this was a tremendous success. And had I gone with a small wheel to start off with, I would have not removed that, and it would have been even better. But we can't have everything on the first go always, so there you go. Practice makes master. And I'll continue with, I'll find some other junk dials and practice with. I should have done that before this one, but considering this watch isn't perfect, this is going to be a great beta for someone. Maybe it will be me, we'll see. But it's yes, not perfect, but improved, I would say. Let me know what you think. If I've, worst comes to worst, we can always look for a donor dial, or we can have the dial restored. But I think this, being original, still looks great. Looks a lot better than a lot of the other ones I've seen out there. And that scratch was really letting it down, but now that scratch gone, I think it's a good dial. I'll be happy if I found this dial the way it is, even with the faded print down here. I'll be happy to use this dial. So it's had a life. I'm now a part of that life. We got rid of the scratch, and a little bit more than we wanted to, but overall very good. The movement cleaned, and I have treated the capsules with Epilam. I fitted the capsules under the microscope, the balance cock in place, just to see that the balance moves freely. That helps me for when I'm putting the rest of the movement together and fitting the balance, that I know that the balance stuff is in good form and I have no issues with the capsules. Helps eliminating problems later on if you have problems with the watch running. So now we've got to take that out again. Tend to put that upside down like this and put it onto a pad or something next to me here in a safe place, so I don't accidentally tip it over. And next I'm going to fit the barrel. And a very cool detail is that the top of the barrel, so the barrel, I think, is jeweled, just to help with the longevity of the design or the movement, so that it doesn't wear. Let's see, I'll put my oils and get my oils out here so we can put some lubrication on and putting this back together. So I'll start by fitting the barrel. So the center wheel is jeweled. The lower hole for the barrel arbor is not jeweled. I would have liked to see that, but can't have it all. But it's cool to have the jewel on the mainspring barrel. So decoration wise, it's all very nice and tidy, nothing spectacular. I'm also going to do a little video on an Autonomatic coming up that's got quite spectacular perlage all over the place. Well, this one is just basically got a yeah, just got a kind of stripy finish going along here, and just finished underneath. It's tidied up. It's not crude, but it's yeah, it's functional. That's something you find on Japanese watches. They do like the functional decoration. We have the overlaying bridge for the center wheel. Have that secured in place. And then we can fit the barrel. A little droplet of oil just there on the wall of the top of the barrel arbor, so that when I put the bridge on, it will lubricate that nicely. The setting lever kind of push pin is fitted from the underside, so we don't have to worry about that right now. So what we're going to do is fit the gear train. Here we got the third wheel. And we have the escape wheel. And we'll have the sweep second driving wheel. So that we're going to lubricate. It's going to get a tiny droplet of lubrication here, like so. That's pretty much the gear train layout. There's no damage here. That is a little bit of discoloration on the wheel, and that will be fine. It's just this staining on the plating that's gone onto the wheels. Very nice finish on the gear train here, I gotta say. Highly polished, and overall good, I would say. Get a photo of that for the archives. Next we have this little spring. Comes here. It's the other way around, I guess. There we go. Goes on like this. And we have the hacking lever. Comes here. Nice simple design that lays over. Will engage with the center wheel. So of course your sliding pinion will come in here and then determine the position. So that's in winding position, it's out, and setting it then engages and blocks the gear train from moving. So just a standard, quite straightforward hacking lever design. I quite like it. Can now secure the barrel bridge. It's jeweled on the top here for so that's good. I like jewel barrels. They tend to last a lot more, and we eliminate a lot of potential work by not having to replace the top bushing, as the rubies tend to last a long time. Of course they can crack, and there's situations where you have to replace them as well, but overall they tend to be nice and robust. Now I'm quite happy to fit the gear train bridge. Of course, it's very important to line this up with the pivots so that you don't screw it down and break them if they're not in position. What helps me is to do this under the microscope, so I eliminate the chances of me accidentally breaking a pivot. So I'm going to do that. I'll cut right back to working on the movement. Right, I've got the pivots lined up, I've got the gear train in there, and I'm now securing the bridge with the bridge screws. The next thing to do is to fit the two capsules to come here and here. I've already done the other side. You have to secure those before you put the movement in, or the gear train in, otherwise the pivots won't line up. So what I'm going to do is take this under the microscope again, oil the center, and then put the capsules on top. But you've got to unclip these springs. I'm going to add some photos of that now. Now we got the capsule fitted. I'm happy to fit the ratchet wheel. If you want to fit the crown wheel or ratchet wheel, it's pretty much the same. Of course, you need the square to engage properly. Put the square on the barrel arbor. See the gear trains moving freely, which is good. Fairly nice decoration on the ratchet and crown wheel. You can see it has a beveled high gloss, well, high polished finish, and you have the starburst in the middle. So there's a left-hand thread going on here, and all the right-hand thread here. So at this point, I think we could flip the movement around, and we can start fitting the winding and setting mechanism. This, as you can see, is a no date watch, so I don't have any date mechanism to worry about, which is always makes my work a little bit easier, maybe less interesting, but it does make for very nice clean dials. I use this blue grease. That's pretty good on any sliding element. And I put that on the winding stem here. We have the, what you can see I've put down on the table is, that is the winding wheel. No, yeah, the winding pinion that is. It's not a wheel, it's a pinion. Pop that in there. And now I'm going to fit the sliding pinion, and it's important because you've got the hacking lever that the sliding pinion engages with the hacking lever coming in here. Hold that in place and we can insert the stem. There we go. Engaging with the hacking lever, that's good. With that we can fit the setting lever. Setting lever will secure the stem, and it will also move the yoke that's coming here that engages with the sliding pinion. That will engage setting the time or keep it in place for winding the winding pinion. And the rule of thumb here is every sliding component gets a little bit of blue grease, unless specified otherwise. We have a spring that acts as the yoke spring. Well, it is the yoke spring, but it holds the sliding pinion in a winding position, so it engages nicely. Of course, you override the spring when you pull the stem out, and that's what the setting lever spring is for, which we're going to fit right now. This setting lever spring has a dual action. It also holds the sliding pinion, the setting lever in place. That is the wrong screw. This is the correct screw. Again, we don't have the best of finishes. It's pretty rudimentary, but it's tidy, it's clean. It's you know, again, functional. Nothing too fancy. So we have these posts where our intermediate setting wheels are going to go. We have the sliding pinion here. I'm going to fit the sliding pinion, that's push fit. And the friction of that is what allows you to set the hand. So if this friction is too hard, or it's too tight, you'll have problems when you're going to set the time, because it's first of all, it's going to put a lot of force through the gear train, and number two, if it's too tight, you'll break the teeth on your intermediate wheel that goes here. If it's too loose, there will not be, because if I wind this, you can see that's moving. If it's too loose, it's just going to keep turning on the axle underneath, and not drive the hands. So it's about having a nice balance on that. That felt pretty good. So we'll see when we put it together. It's an intermediate minute wheel, or hour wheel. And we have this here, which is the gauging wheel that comes in here. Got a little plate here holding that all in place. So secure that, and that is the setting and winding mechanism in place. That feels pretty good. Good, excellent. Let's pop this around again, and we're going to fit the pallet fork bridge and the balance, and then see how it will perform. Quite excited. It was ticking, sort of, and we'll see how it performs when it's all put back together and cleaned with fresh oil. Hopefully we'll have no major issues. There we go. Now we can wind the movement. Before I fit the balance, you can also see how the hacking lever works. We pull the setting and it locks the center wheel. That's pretty cool. Windy, and I'm going to now take this under a microscope and oil the pallets. They have quite viscous oil that goes on the tip of the pallets. What that does, it allows the escape wheel to slide nicely as the pallet moves back and forth. That went very well. Nice and even distribution of the oil on the pallet jewel. Now for the exciting moment of fitting the balance. If we have a quick look underneath the balance here, you can see those little marks, and that is back in the Seiko factory when they were poising these balances without any, you don't have any balance screws going around, so sometimes you would take off a little bit of material here when poising the balance. So they've obviously spent a bit of extra time on this, and I do suspect this is going to keep very good time. Beautiful. I love when you just put the balance on and it starts ticking straight away. Let's secure that. excellent. Look at that. We have a running movement. That's a very good start. We can check our hacking lever. That works. Good. Now we're going to put this on the time graph and we're going to see how it performs. I'd like to point out that this movement does have a serial number, and Seiko tended to put serial numbers on the movements which they spent a little bit extra time on. So there's definitely a quality movement from Seiko. Very nice, actually quite a nice beveled finished high gloss going around the movement as well. So, you know, I'd say finish wise it's a bit lower than a lot of the European watches of the time, also the Swiss watches, but I'm talking the high-end Swiss watches, so Longines, a Turner, Omega, etc. But it's a mix, because some things like the Ratchet and crown wheels very nicely finished, and you have this nice polished bevel, but then you get the base movement, you get some slightly more crude, what I say, just functional details. So they've focused on the gear train's beautifully finished, so very practical approach to making a watch here. And honestly, I think that's the right way to go. You start with getting the gear train right, you start with getting all the, you know, important things in order, and accuracy and etc., and then you focus on finishing afterwards. And I think they've hit a very good balance point on this movement. Anyway, to the Timegrapher. Alright, let's test the movement here. 257 amplitude, 0 to -1 second, dial down position. That's good. We can adjust that a bit later to maybe go a bit faster, but let's see what it does dial up first. .1 beta is very good. Alright, turn that dial up position. Slightly different beat area, but that's okay. Amplitude is similar, that's good. Timing wise, very similar, -2 rather than -1. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's put a dial down position here. Looks pretty good to me. I think this watch will keep pretty decent time. No problems with that. Excellent. To the dial up position, we have a little bit of gain. Yep, a bit of positional variation, but this watch will keep decent time. Very happy with that. With that, I'm quite happy to put the dial and hands back on. It's a slotting pinion lubricated so we can fit the hour wheel. And on the hour wheel we have a dial washer. So if your watch has a shock, prevents this from jumping up and skipping a tooth. which can happen. I did that as a teenager once, being a little bit too rough. So now we can fit the dial. Well, sometimes you can salvage all crystals, but this one is pretty damaged. Because they're sandwich crystals, that means that you put them on here and you fit the bezel. The bezel tension between the case and the bezel is what holding the crystal in place, just like on Rolex. So it's difficult to find exact ones, but luckily we can still find some original crystals. We got one for this one. Fits perfectly on there, which is nice. And just I'm going to put a little bit of silicone grease on the inside of the crystal, just to, or the bezel, will go against the crystal just so to help it slide. I do not like these always, so you've got to be quite careful. If the crystal is swelled or it's a bit bigger, it might either crack the crystal, or I have actually cracked the bezel as well where it's had rust damage or something like that. So yeah, I'm going to get the tool and squeeze this together. So we got the crystal onto the case, which I didn't film the whole process, but the bottom line was that the crystal had swelled a tiny bit with age, I think, and what I had to do was just polish off a tiny bit of the edge so I could get the bezel to go on. If you just force it, you will break your bezel. That's happened before, so don't do that. So this is a good way of doing it. Yeah, let's flip this around. I've also fitted the movement ring to the movement, as you kind of need that for it to go into the case. So here we have the watch coming together. I think we're going to just pop a little bit of silicone grease for the gasket onto the pendant tube. So that helps the old rubber in the old crown turn around nicely. I've only seen these with this crown. I thought it was a replacement crown, but I actually think it's the original crown for this watch, because I've seen several other models with this crown. It's not perfect, but it will go on this watch. There we go. Engage, setting, works. Good. Excellent. Now we have the movement in the case, and I think it's looking great. It's a beautiful movement. I really like it. Very, very nice. Anyway, let's get the case back on, and then we'll see if we can find a strap, and I'll test it on my wrist because it's my watch. I'll be putting it up for sale on my website, www.mitka.co.uk, and this one will be a bargain. I found this in what I would call a junk lot. I got a video of that as well. You can see on my channel here on YouTube, and I'm basically just going to add my service cost to this and the crystal cost plus what I reckon I found it for. So it's pretty transparent in terms of cost. It's not going to be an expensive watch, but it's going to be a lovely little beater for someone, I'm sure. Anyway, let's get that case back on. Case back on. It's got that cool seahorse with a crown, pretty cute. Made November, that's for the date, and then the month, and that's the year, November 1965, and this is the result. Pretty nice. I think that dial's come up very, very good indeed. Of course, it would have been nice if we didn't have this scratch down here to start off with, and I hadn't well, accidentally polished it a little bit too much down here on the big wheel, but I did learn to use the small wheels on the lathe, which you could see, to successfully remove this scratch. I have used a big wheel before. This small wheel is kind of a new thing I've got a hold of. So unfortunately the print on this was super sensitive, and that's, well, we've already discussed what happened there. But I think when you look at this under the crystal compared to that big scratch that was there before, this has come out fantastic, and I'm still very happy with it. So if you think I've ruined the watch, feel free to comment, and that's the way it is. But yeah, it will come up on my website, and it will be a reasonable, nice beater for someone to use. Still a very nice watch. Let's see if we can find a cool strap for it, and we'll take it out in the daylight. And there we go, the watch back in action. Quite a nice size on the case as well. Now on a leather strap, because I don't need a buckle digging into it. But it's a lovely finish on this dial, and I think it's looking really nice. Very happy with that. Nice rescue. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Until next time, have a good one.